So, afternoon again, guys. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to start off with trade and protectionism, right? So let's look here. Trade is the exchange of goods and services. What does that mean? Anybody?
Is like giving our good to get a different good?
Yeah, basically. You remember when we did bartering?
I was now gonna say that.
Yes, exactly. Because barter is the exchange of a good for a good, no? So isn't that some form of trade?
Yeah.
Right. So let's keep that in mind when we're discussing this, although it's going to be a bit more complicated than that. So we're going to look at different types of trade. There's domestic trade, there's regional trade, and there's international trade. So domestic trade occurs within a country. So that's like people trading within Trinidad and Tobago. That's domestic trade. Then we have something called regional trade, and that takes place within a particular region or area. So like, for example, within the Caribbean region, within the European region, within the Asian region, you know, those are regional trade areas, right? International trade now is the buying and selling of goods and services, but among different nations. So that would be like, for example, Trinidad trading with China, or Trinidad trading with any European country, or Australia, or an Asian country. That would be considered international trade. We are outside of the Caribbean region. Everybody okay so far? Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Right. So now let's look at why do countries engage in international trade? Like, why would they want to do that? Right? Because let's be honest, could any one country provide for themselves holistically on their own 2 feet? Could Trinidad provide for themselves by themselves?
No, I don't think so.
No, not at all. Right? Like for example, Trinidad has a very high import bill, especially food import bill. Right? There are certain things that a country can do for itself and cannot. Like, I want to be thinking about it. I want us to think about the analogy about ourselves. Isn't there certain things that we ourselves cannot do and we would need outside help?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's something like that. Keep that in the back of your mind. So let's look at why countries engage in international trade. The first one being, no country is able to produce everything at once, right? So because it can't produce everything efficiently, it has to import it. There's a reason to import it. You'll remember, or some of y'all remember, Trinidad's main export, one of them, in fact, was sugar. But we never exported sugar, you know. Do you all know the whole story behind this whole issue about Carey in 1975? All we did was that we had cane, which is the raw material, the raw product, right? But we could not have converted the sugar, the cane, sorry, into sugar. So what we did, just like Guyana, not just like, yes, perfect. We shipped it off. We shipped off the raw material to England. They refined it because they had the technologies and the skills to do it, and they refined it to sugar. And then we imported the final product back into Trinidad.
And pay more for it.
And pay more for it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's it. So you see, no country has the ability to be able to produce everything on its own and efficiently. So you can have the raw materials, you know, but it does not mean you have the technological know-how or the machinery available to convert that raw material now into a final product. Yeah? The key word here is that efficiently. And efficiently means what?
To do it in a proper, sufficient way.
Not proper, but I mean an economical way then, or something using less resources to get more of that good. Remember, a productive way, right? The other one is a climatic condition. Due to differences in climates, right? Certain countries can only produce certain things. Like, for example, we don't have apples in Trinidad, do we? No, but we import it, not so? Because of the climate, those kinds of crops can't grow here. So what do? We import it because I mean, you know, long time on Christmas time, a famous appetizer that people used to offer is apple and grapes, but now it's so abundant, everybody's have it, you know.
Yeah.
But
You
long
feed
time
off.
feeling when you see apple and grapes come out,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah,
know,
it'll be Christmas.
it's Christmas. You younglings might not remember that, but yeah, that's how it was long time. The third one is that different countries have different resources. Like for example, Trinidad has oil. So because different countries have different resources, now there's a need for us to trade, right? But now we see Guyana they discovered it. Trinidad don't have all the resources, you know. Don't we have to import bananas and don't we have to import a lot of other processed foods and all these other things? And it's the
Yeah,
same thing with other Caribbean countries and even worldwide countries, right? That's why, like, for example, there's this whole trade war going on, and especially with oil producing countries. Yeah? Like, for example, Dubai never had oil before, but when they got it, they were able to make use of their investments and they diversify their economy to now being a strong, sustainable one. Not so? Because they had oil. That's the only reason they were able to come up to where they are now. Right? The police vehicles in Dubai are what, Rolls Royce and all of these things. No? Trinidad has oil too. What kind of taxis we have?
315.
Aye. Right. All right. So let's look at the next one. Different countries have different levels of specialization and technical skills. And specialization means what again?
Something that someone is an expert in.
That they're expert in doing. They have a lot of
Expertise.
their skill set is very high on it. They've been doing it over and over, so it comes like a second nature, right? Good. Certain countries have different skills. Like for example, India. India is heavily medicinal based and technologically based. A lot, if you realize, and you did a little research, a lot of their millionaires and all these other persons is due to the medicinal industry, the drug pharmaceutical industry, and technology in terms of telecommunication, right? Look at, for example, President Trump recently. He wants this hydrochloric whatever drug that he's calling the miracle drug or something in order to help cure this coronavirus, because that's what they believe will help cure it, right? Although there's no research based on it. And India is the only country that produces it, right? And now they're threatening India now to increase and not withhold their stock to the US, because India and Indian persons specialize in pharmaceuticals and even, like, for example, telecommunications. What other countries specialize in certain things compared to other nations? What you all thinking? Tell me something you all know about, like, for example, cell phones. Where are the cell phones made or they assembled?
Not in China, no?
Yeah, in China.
In China.
Chinese people are known for what?
Producing a lot of
Electronics.
Electronics. Let's say, for instance, the Huawei phone. You
Yeah.
know, that's a Chinese phone, right?
Yeah.
And even the Chinese people didn't have enough faith and belief in their own product that they gravitated towards the Apple and Samsung and whatever else, right? But then they started to realize, well, what is the point in us now investing into these other brands when we have our own local ones? So then they end up putting more effort into their local brand, their own brand. And the quality is a lot better, people would argue, right, than the others. Not so? I think the camera, especially in Huawei, is pretty good. Anybody wants to add to that?
And the life of the phone is better
The life
too.
of the phone is good too. I don't know, because I don't have one, but any,
Yeah, I had one a while back. It's still good.
yeah. And well, now apparently, because remember China uses a lot of cell phones yearly, right? The amount of cell phones they discard is so much that even Tokyo was able to use that to create the Olympic medals.
Wow.
So all of the Olympic medals for this would have been Olympic year was made from the recycled cell phone.
Okay.
So they took all the old ones and the people in Asia would have discarded, and they converted that into the medals there. So that's to tell you how much they actually throw away on a yearly basis, right? So that's the thing. Trinidadians could, yes, I'm not saying we're not skilled, but I'm saying that we're not specialized in that particular field. Hence the reason, we have to outsource persons to do certain things. And we would realize we would have some foreign nationals who may come and we would just work for a short period of time, train people here, and then go back to their home country. So the training is to help us locals in terms of getting a piece of the pie, if you want to call it like that. Yeah, in terms of the technical know-how. So you think we're okay in terms of knowing why some countries engage in international trade?
Yeah,
MS.
All right, good. So now let's look at the benefits of international trade. Why is it good? What are the good things about it? International trade provides foreign currency or revenue for its exports. All right, who exports? What is exports?
So send our countries goods to different countries.
Basically, so it's like, for example, what goods we have to sell to other countries. That is called the exports, whatever we sell to other countries, right? What do you think is Trinidad's most popular export commodity?
Oil.
Oil and natural gas. Yeah, that's correct.
Oil and gas.
Oil and natural gas. But you're seeing what's going on a global scale?
Nope.
The prices have gone drastically down.
Right. That's plummeted, yeah.
Remember our, sorry. Sorry, I don't know what.
Big
Next
tune.
time. Yeah.
That is
Right. Okay. Right. So those are what we call the exports. And the reason why you would always want your exports to be higher than your imports is because you get foreign currency for it. Remember, when you sell your products, like when we sell our oil and natural gas, they are traded in US. So when we sell them, that's the money we get. We get revenue in terms of US currency or foreign currency. So wouldn't we want to get more of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we would. So in order to get more of that, we need to export more, right? And that's why there have been talks about us, for one, diversifying and not just depending on one commodity for exports, but expanding our horizons. And the manufacturing sector has been doing that. Like, for example, when they export their products to other regional countries, like, for example, to Haiti and to Barbados and all these other things, when you go there, you could see carrot products. You could see Chubby. You could see all of SM Jaleel's products, right? That is because we export those things as well. But obviously not at as large scale or as largely demanded as would be oil or natural gas, right? What about Barbados? What do you think is no, we discussed that one already. What do you think is Guyana's main export product now?
Oil.
Oil. But with them having control of it is kind of questionable at this point.
True.
But gold, yeah, rice, they also export rice. Do you know we also produce rice and we also import it? Yeah, irony, right? The next one is that trade provides a variety of products from which consumers can choose. So like, for example, when we import all of these fantastic products, like, so what we were discussing before in a previous class, we're talking about when we go to the grocery and we see a whole lane full of different cornflakes and cereal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we need all of that?
So,
Well, some people I'd say yes.
Yes, some people are saying yes, but I don't think we need like 40 different brands of cornflakes.
No.
So what would the need be then if we have to import so much? We need to be able, a country needs to be able to be sustainable. That means able to provide for themselves over a long period of time, right? And like, for example, even what's happening now with this whole coronavirus thing, and there was this article on the papers about Mayaro farmers having to discard produce because they couldn't get it sold. Now, that whole article thing there is questionable, right? But couldn't we have, I don't know, exported some of our produce if it can't be sold locally? What y'all thinking about that?
Yeah, I think so, as long as there's a high demand for it, yeah.
Yeah, because remember, the region is going through this whole pandemic with us too. That's all?
Yeah.
Right. So we want to make sure that we are our neighbors' keeper and we can also trade with them. Because to me, it's sad that, you know, food has to be wasted.
Itu Miss Laptop baik. It's still recording. My mic can mute, you know.
All right, sorry about that. Right. So we were discussing Guyana's exports, not so?
Yeah.
Right. What are some other export commodities that you think other countries are known for? It could be regionally, or it could be internationally. What are you all thinking?
Timber in for Jamaica, miss. What? Timber
Yeah.
in Jamaica.
Yeah, timber, lumber, yeah, and Jamaica. Jamaica also exports a lot of bananas. Grenada exports a lot of spice, because they're known as a spice island.
What about Japan vehicles?
Yes, very good. Japan and vehicles. Would you buy a vehicle from China or Japan?
Japan.
Why not China, boy?
Thinking made in China doesn't last long.
Japan more trusted.
Yeah, Chinese vehicles are not as strong as the Japanese.
Plus, most of the vehicles we drive come from Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And Trinidad, like Nissan and some.
Yeah, exactly. And the high-end ones will come from Europe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
so Europe
fancy,
would be known for those. Huh?
fancy ones.
Yeah, and even wine and
Yes.
chocolate. Chocolate comes from like Belgium and France and all these other things. Do you know where they get their cocoa from?
No, I don't.
Trinidad.
Brazil?
Trinidad.
What?
Trinidad?
Really?
Saying
Yes.
Trinidad.
You all didn't know that? Trinidad
No.
has the best tasting cocoa.
You know that?
Yeah, yeah. Not
Wait, Stewie.
we're
Jesus.
talking about
Oh
the ones
my.
from Tabaquite and all of those places like on the eastern side, right? What they do is that they pick out the best of the bunch and it is exported to Europe. So yeah, you know, the Ferrero Rocher and all of these Cadbury and these nice tasting chocolates, they are made with Trinidad's cocoa,
Miss
right?
even
And
in Tobago, our guys for have a cocoa field and all in the back
yeah,
in Tobago.
and we leave the rest of the cocoa for Charles chocolate.
So miss we
But
get the
that's
lower grade cocoa chocolate.
basically, yes.
We can mandate man.
Because you see, if we export the best grade, we get more money in terms of foreign exchange. Isn't that the whole purpose of international trade?
Yeah.
But then it comes at a disadvantage, you know? Because then we still have to, when we buy back the finished product now, it's like you're buying it twice. Right? Right. That's good. So we're okay with that part there. Let's look at trade. Right. We already know a variety of products. It improves the standard of living. How can trade help us improve standard of living? What does the standard of living mean again? I hear pages flipping. You're supposed to notice to the top of your fingers, huh?
Oh,
What's that you said, miss?
Oh, changing.
Miss, you could repeat what you said?
What does standard of living mean?
I have to go back in the books.
What about persons who were there last week, especially? What does it remember? We say standard of living.
it refers to the quality of life.
Yeah, it helps us to determine, you know, the quality of life and how comfortable we are. And does that deal with more quantitative or qualitative indicators? Is standard of living more of a quantitative or a qualitative indicator?
Qualitative.
Very good. Very good. Because can they be measured with numerical figures?
Only quantitative can be measured by numerical value.
Very nice. Excellent. right? So when we're talking about standard of living, what are we talking about?
How people living their life.
The
Uh-huh.
Good
welfare and the
and
well-being.
proper care.
The welfare of the people.
Right, and the mortality rates and how safe they feel and all these other things, right? Last week we looked at we compared the quality of life of Trinidad and Barbados, and we realized that even though I think Trinidad had a higher GDP per capita, which is a numerical value, right? Trinidad had a better in terms of quality of life in certain regards. Not all, but certain regards, right? I think when we looked at the difference between Trinidad and Guyana, we noticed that we had a higher literacy rate than Guyana. And there were other different factors too that contributed to a difference in the quality of life, right? But standard of living here, with like regard to like, what people can afford and versus what they can't. Like when we were talking about a long time, when, I don't know, maybe buying KFC once a week was a thing to determine somebody's standard of living. But now, maybe going off TGI once a week instead, see our aging and upgrade. It provides a better quality of goods and services. How do you think international trade helps provide a better quality of goods and services? What do you all think?
Miss, repeat the question.
How do you think that international trade helps provide better quality of goods and services? Yeah, what do you guys think? Think about it for a minute. How can international trade lead to better quality goods and services being produced or provided?
I'm thinking more advanced technology.
Traded internationally, we have to make sure the quality is high. So in order for us to do that, we have to up our game in terms of the quality of the materials we're using to produce these goods. Because you know how a lot of people think that, and even for the services, right? Because a lot of people think, well, you're selling, this is the image and how you look on the international scene. So what they do, and typical Chile thinking, right, is that you want to make sure you give like foreign family when they come the best of everything. But on a usual, you would take it however it comes.
Or you wouldn't worry as much, yeah.
Yeah, or you won't worry as much. That's exactly how it is like this. It's like, for example, okay, your aunt or your uncle or something coming from the States for a 2-week vacation, and you want to make sure the house spick and span, or your cupboard full of stuff to eat, and you're taking them all over the place to give them the best quality service, and making sure they're extremely comfortable and all these other things. But from the time they leave, you're breathing a sigh of relief and they can go back to your normal ways. Not so?
Yes.
And it's something like that. Use that analogy, right? When countries have to provide goods for the international community or the international scale, you end up realizing that the producing is on a better, scale in terms of the quality level, right? Except for, when they're mass producing, everything is done one way. And there may be 1 or 2 products that may fall through the cracks and end up being not as great, right? Like some people would be skeptical to buy goods from China. Like you all know about Alibaba and AliExpress?
Yeah.
Right. Anybody ever bought from them?
No.
No?
Yeah, buy
It
from
sounds
them already.
familiar.
Okay,
Yeah.
tell us about the experience in terms of the quality of the product and of the service.
It was garbage. And
Which one? Product or service? Or
but
both?
the product, and it's gonna take very long for it to reach here.
Yeah, I think it takes about a month, if not so.
Yeah, it could take about a month. The quality was horrible. What they showed me was different from the product I got.
Right. Because I think, like, for example, when you're buying clothes, you know, they would tell you, if it is like, for example, you're small, buy it either 2 sizes higher or 2
yeah, they
sizes.
say that.
Yeah, because it's not the same thing as in terms of sizing.
Because the China people are small.
Not just that, too, remember, they're supposed to go by their standard size, like, for example, a US size. So not everything in terms of international trade will result in, let's just say, better quality products or services, but it allows us to keep an open mind. Yeah. The creation of jobs, for example, in manufacturing, transport, and shipping. Now remember, when international trade takes place, we need all of these persons to come on board. So like, for example, the manufacturing sector, that in Trinidad comprises of SMG Reel, Abel, KISS, who else? Who else engages? Carib, Angostura. All of those companies are manufacturing companies, meaning that they make products to sell, right? And most, if not all of them, export, right? So wouldn't they also need handlers, like people to help move the product from factory to the truck to take it to the shipping area, to the shipping port?
Miss.
Yeah, they would. And especially if you're increasing your production of those goods, you would need more persons to be employed at different skill level, be it on the ground or be it behind a desk or in terms of marketing or in terms of, you know, international relations and all of these things. And you would need truck drivers. You would also need logistical person, supply chain, you know. You need to have persons on the port in terms of a broker and all of these other things. Yes, so increasing production, especially in terms of the manufacturing sector, allows for the creation of more jobs, right? So this is one of the benefits of international trade, right? It creates political friendships with other countries, right? It's like, for example, let's just take this analogy. You know, you want to barter with your friend along the road and he has tomatoes and you have bacon or something. And you know, he has a constant supply and you have a constant supply, and every now and then you would want to trade. Wouldn't you want to keep him as a friend?
Yeah.
Because you don't want him to give it away to somebody else, would you?
Nope.
Nope. So you want to maintain that friendship. It's the same as something very similar to like Caribbean countries or countries on the international market. You want to keep those persons as friends. Like, for example, Russia and China. And they would want to continue to be friends. You don't think they'll want to continue to be friends?
Yeah.
Yeah. You think they want to be friends with the US?
No.
No, they don't want to be. At least not right now. Because I think Russia was saying and telling the US it's time for them to step down as a powerhouse. Right? Trade allows for those political friendships, like, for example, even between Trinidad and China. We do a lot of trade between these two countries, right? So they want to make sure that political friendship and relationship is intact and it's not damaged. That's why these international relations are so important. And who we align ourselves are even more important, because you don't want to inadvertently hurt, quote unquote, one of your friendships. You're trading friendships, right? And this could be seen, for example, in this whole possible World War III in January of this year, where most of the European countries were backing up the US and the Russia and China and all these things were against it. Yeah. So it's not just in terms of trading friendships, but political friendships and all of these things as well. Yeah. Are we okay so far?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Right. provides competition and reduces monopolies. What do you think monopolies mean? No, it's not a gamer. What do you think monopolies mean? Monopolies mean one company having total control over the provision of a product or a service within a country. Most of you all remember CSEC was the only telecommunications company in Trinidad and Tobago for a number of years. Right? So it's either if you wanted a phone or you wanted internet, CSEC was the person you're going by. WASA and TNTech are the monopolies in Trinidad and Tobago as it relates to electricity and to water. Right? They are the only monopolies that exist right now. Meaning, if you want electricity or if you want water, you have to be with either or, right? Electricity, you have to be on TNTech. Water, you have to be with WASA, right? There was no two ways about it. So that's what it means. Those companies have total control of the market. It's very difficult for anybody else to enter, right? Now, they're saying here that international trade allows for competition and reduces monopolies. Competition is a good thing here or a bad thing?
Bad thing.
Why do you think it's a bad thing?
Because you'll be fighting for power at the end of the day. And how the people suffer.
But you think it's a completely bad thing? Dexter, what do you think?
I think it's a good thing because it wouldn't have what we just spoke about with regards to monopolies. You have options.
Exactly, you have options.
Yeah.
Because
so if I want a
remember,
phone, I have the mobile or digital, so I could.
Right. Because remember, when TSEC was there alone, they could have put any price. And if you wanted a service, you had to pay the price regardless. But now, enter Digicel. Right? Digicel provided the only competition at that point in time to TSTT. What was TSTT forced to do now? They had to compete.
Yeah.
Now, if it is you have two companies providing the exact same product or the exact same service, what do you think would be the determining factor for customers in order to choose which one to go with?
Pricing.
Pricing. Pricing is the most important, and then other factors will come into play. So let's just say now, Digicel entered the market and they were at a low price. Who do you think people would stick to? Some might stick to TSEC and some might have gone over to Digicel. But let's look at what really happened. A person switched to Digicel also.
Yeah.
And Digicel at that time was only providing phone services. Then afterwards, they decided to provide internet, fiber optic. I think Digicel was the only company that started with the fiber optics, high-speed internet. And then afterwards, now TSEC jumped on the bandwagon. And then the other suppliers came about too. You saw the smaller ones popping up, like Green Dot and Massey and whoever else popping up to give you that type of telecommunication services. Now we have a lot of options. Competition or increased competition, you know what it does? It allows for the customers at some point to benefit. Because now you can choose who you want to go to based on yes price and two service. You understand that?
Yeah.
And then we would have lived through the entire experience in terms of TSTT versus Flow versus Digicel and all those other things, right? So we would know, we would use some of that experience to come up with our points if it is that we can't remember them off the bat, right? So competition at some extent is healthy, especially when it comes to like international trade and international companies coming and giving local companies competition. Because remember, Digicel is a Jamaican brander. Digicel comes from Jamaica.
Them rubber people.
Well, let's continue there, right? Okay, so the other point we want to look at is that it creates specialization, which increases output. Because then if more persons become specialized into a particular field, wouldn't that mean they produce more in less time? Or in other words, they become more efficient?
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
that happens, wouldn't their output level also increase?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you'll
Yes,
be
it
working
would.
faster. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
Yeah,
more money in the country.
very good. Increased output can lead to economies of scale. What did we say economies of scale is again?
Wow.
Yeah,
Mr. Isn't that
this is about
how?
handout 4. Huh?
Isn't that the part where account to how the country is sustained with revenues, how money is coming and going out?
Nope. No.
Oh, right, but
Try again. It deals with. Okay, I can't tell you. Go ahead. Let me see if I remember. It's supposed to be revising.
What to produce, how to produce, and who we producing it for?
No. That's
No?
economic systems.
Oh, shit. My bad.
We're talking about
waste your
economies
time.
of scale. Think back. Think back. Hello. No.
This type a planned economy, a mixed economy.
No. That's economic systems, not economies of scale. Economies of scale is the benefits you get from buying in bulk.
Sure.
Jog any memory?
Yeah, I remember, but I was I beat my brain to try to remember. Sorry.
I think you all just started and you all need to take a break and then regroup. Right? Increased output, and output means the amount of products or that you produce. Right? So if you produce more products, you benefit from economies of scale. It means now, if you continuously produce more products, remember you're by buying in bulk. So therefore, you'll be benefiting from cost savings when you buy in bulk. And when we go in price mart and we buy in bulk, it's because we get more of the same thing for a cheaper price.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Right. That's why we buy certain things in price mart and probably certain things else to the normal grocery. Right? The last point here is that national income increases. Yes, because remember, if it is that we are trading internationally now and we're looking at our exports and we're producing more to sell internationally and our output is increasing, wouldn't our national income also increase?
Yeah.
And this national income, when we're talking about this, remind me again, what is the difference between GDP and GNP?
The GDP is the gross domestic product, and that's what was produced in a country over a year. And
Right.
the GNP, the gross national product, that's what is being produced in the country and also abroad.
Very good. You also account for abroad. Yeah? Excellent. All right, good. Okay, so let's see. We have free trade section itself. So we'll do up until free trade here now, and then we will take a break, and then we will finish up the rest of the handouts. Yeah?
Okay, miss.
All right, so let's look at free trade. This is the trade among countries without any form of import restrictions. Import means the amount of products that we have coming in. So restrictions means you're holding back products that you can come in. Right? So like, for example, the US and Cuba have a lot of trade restrictions. Right? They don't trade with each other at all, in fact. Right? So now we want to look at some advantages of the free trade area. It means the first one is that it provides a variety of goods. A variety means a wide range of goods, which can improve your standard of living. Anybody ever went to Panama?
No.
No? Okay, let me tell you. There are two free trade two large free trade areas in the world. Where, okay, I want you to guess where two is.
Syria and Panama.
Well, Panama, I give you all that one. Panama is the second one, but where is the
Siberia, Siberia or Syria?
China, not China.
Nah.
China is
Hong Kong.
Hong Kong.
No. Oh yeah.
Hong Kong. Yep. I think I told you all this already. Right?
Yeah.
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 We spoke
Those
about
are the
this
two largest free trading areas. Why people like to gravitate towards there is because you don't have to pay taxes. Hence the name free trade. There's no import restriction or no trading restrictions there. Right? So a long time people used to go to Margarita and buy a whole set of clothes and come back and sell.
Yeah.
Where do you think they get any clothes from? Panama. Panama. They go to Panama. Panama sells it to Margarita. Margarita then, well, everybody go from Trinidad to go Margarita to sell and bring it back down. Same thing with Curacao and same thing with St. Martin. They all go to Panama. Panama is the hub for the Caribbean and Latin America. And then Hong Kong is the hub for the Asian part of the world. Right? And it's also the hub for the US. Because the US also imports from China. Right? So you all see how we're going along. Right.
Yes.
So when it's talking about a variety of goods now, obviously now we get things that we could not have produced on our own or we could not have seen before. So, to that extent, it improves standard of living in terms of the quality of products, right? Imported goods would be cheaper because they're getting at a lower price because there's no restriction on it. There's no added cost. So it now becomes cheaper to bring in, right? And it provides access to a wider market. So, like for example, when people bring down the Victoria's Secret creams and their body mist and Bath and Body Works and all these other things, because they're importing it, they're bringing it into the country. Also, and when you buy them in bulk in areas like, for example, Panama, not all of the things will be authentic. Eh? So you have to figure out which one it is and which one isn't, right? It now provides access for them to have a wider market. Like, for example, Panama's market will cater to the entire Caribbean and Latin America, right? So that's a large market. Now it creates a more efficient allocation of resources and it promotes competition and efficiency. Competition, yes, from bigger brands, yeah? And now people, or even local ones, and now local persons would know that they have to up their game in order to be alive in the market. Be alive meaning continue to get sales and all of these things, right? Now some disadvantages of the free trade. A country may become over-dependent on another country, meaning they totally depend on that country for a product or for a service. It's like if, just a minute, huh? Right, so let us continue with protectionism. So looking at the definition of what protectionism is. So it's a policy of protecting home industries from foreign competition. And when we're talking about home industries, we mean within the home country, right? The country that we are from. So this is done through the imposition of trade barriers and tariffs on imported goods. So basically what this means is that it is a method of where the government now uses tariffs, right, and trade barriers to protect its country and itself from exploitation from foreign competitors, right? Let's look at this. Arguments for protection, meaning why would a country want to take protective measures now? To protect infant industries. And remember, we said infant industries are baby industries or small firms, as the name would say. So the government will want to protect its small firms to make sure that they can survive, because at the end of the day, these small firms provide employment, right? So the government will want to make sure they are able to survive and not being bullied by the larger companies. right? Who might have a stronger standing and a stronger footing in the economy, right? The second one is to protect key and vital industries. Key industries are those essential industries, right? Those that bring in a lot of cash flow, right? And it's important for the country's economic benefit. The third one is to conserve natural resources. And remember, natural resources are those resources like what?
Raw material.
That, yeah, like for example, what?
Like
The
when it's
oil,
like not
pitch,
like what the oil,
Yeah, and the oil, right?
pitch,
Things that come
but
natural,
the
like
pitch,
from the earth,
the
yeah.
pitch lake is still
Mine.
ours. The pitch lake is still ours.
No,
It wasn't
no.
rented out.
A majority, no, it's owned, it's sold to China.
Right.
A majority of the pitch lake was sold to China,
Sold to China, yeah.
right? So we don't even own that,
yeah, it's a very small portion.
right?
Nothing
Yeah, okay, all right then. But like even like the what do you call it? The rainforest in Guyana, that's a natural resource. What about gold? That's also a natural resource, right? You want to conserve it because remember, natural resources are non-renewable, meaning they can't be made
get it
over
back.
and over. Once it's replenished, it's done, it's gone. So that's why you want to conserve and make sure you use them wisely. Because remember, when foreign competitors come in, they're not going to care about those things, you know, right? Like, for example, this whole talk about when Sandals wanted to come in into Tobago and they wanted to construct close to no man's land. No man's land is a natural habitat there for the fishery, the marine life. Anybody ever went to no man's land?
Yeah.
It's so
No,
nice.
no. Yeah, really nice.
It's so nice. I mean,
Where
like
that is?
it's in Tobago.
Oh,
I
okay.
think once you take the boats to go to the Boca Reef, one of the stops is in no man's land. And it's just really like, I don't like water, but or the beach to say, but I really enjoyed myself there. There's a nice relaxing kind of atmosphere, and it is a home to a lot of marine life, aquatic life. So when they say, remember when large companies come in, they're not really seeing it as what contribution that natural resource makes to your country. You know, what they're seeing is how it could benefit them and their company. At least most of the time, that's how it is, right? So it is the prerogative now of the home government to ensure that the natural resources of the country are conserved and preserved, right, and not taken advantage of, right?
That's why COVID do a good job.
Oh my God, let's not say that,
Yes.
right? All right, the next one now is to engage in consumer protection. When they say consumer protection, what do you think they mean?
The rights of the consumer.
Yeah, the rights of the consumer.
The
Because,
rights of the consumer.
yes, because let's be honest, do you think that all foreign goods coming in would be satisfactory in terms of health benefits and all these things, so up to international standards for our citizens to partake in? Let's take, for example, this whole Omega 365 or 360, whatever you call it, the Omega XL. Do you know it doesn't even have FDA approval in the US?
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry.
It does not, but it's being heavily marketed in Trinidad.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and you can win a Honda City.
Oh my God, see? Right? So it's being heavily marketed in Trinidad, and it's not even approved to be in the US. And this is what brings me to the point here, right? Because remember, these foreign firms are not going to see what is the benefit for you and your country, you know. That is why the government now has to take protectionism actions to ensure that the country does and its citizens aren't left you know, in the wrong end of the stick then. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
It goes into the rules of the government to protect the
Right,
citizens.
exactly. Yeah. Right? So that's why they'll have to make sure that all products coming in go through quality testing and all of these things to make sure it's fit for the population. right? You know, sometimes that's why some companies recall certain products when they find certain things are wrong with them. Like, for
Yeah.
example, like in baby milk and all these other things, that they would recall certain things, even in the cars, right? All right, the next one now is, what is it? To control the level of imports in the country. Why do you think the government would want to control the level of imports? What do you think? Because remember, imports are the goods that are coming into the country, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so why do you think the government would want to control that?
Control the taxes.
All right, but remember, when they import, what does that mean? When they import means they're bringing in goods, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or more spending.
Yeah, exactly. Bingo. That means you're spending more foreign exchange to buy all of these goods. And if there's no control over that, what would happen? It's like if your mother gives you an allowance, look, right? And you go to school and she tell you,
You're
out of that
bankrupt.
allowance, you have to buy food and you have to save some money. But you get real happy nice because you have $100 to spend for the week. What do you think would happen?
Be bankrupt.
Yeah, you'll end up spending like crazy on unnecessary things, right? So take up that analogy and think about it here now. Why would a country want to control the level of imports that they have? Use the same terminology from the example we just discussed. Why would they want to do that?
So the standard of living must be at a moderate greatness.
No, okay, so let's just say now, your mother used to give you $10 a day to spend. And then one week she decides to give you $100. Huh?
To monitor spending.
Yes, one is the amount you're spending and make sure you don't overspend in the wrong places. Because remember, foreign exchange is what's being spent to these imports. So if you don't control it and if you don't put a tap to it, people will like, you just import all kinds of unnecessary things, and all of that is money being spent and not $80 being spent, you know, US dollars being spent. So would you want to squander your foreign exchange, which is like gold, on unnecessary things?
No.
No, because you don't know where else you might need that money. So you want to control the amount of imports that you have, because then that is unnecessary spending, right? Because remember, you'll have to conduct a budget and make sure you're spending according to that. Not so? Right. To correct a balance of payment deficit, balance of payments deals with import and export, and a deficit means you're spending more than you are receiving. So this means now your import is more than your export. Remember, your export is what you sell, right? And you would always want your exports to be more than your imports, meaning you want to be selling more than you're buying, right? And a deficit means that you're only buying more and selling less. Tell me if that making sense.
Because you're in the red.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, don't get me wrong, a balance of payment deficit so like in 1 or 2 times, like maybe a year back to back, no problem. But if it's a continuous thing, depending on your national income figures, that would be a detrimental thing, because that means you're continuously now not making enough money in terms of revenue, but you're spending on your imports. Would that make any kind of logical sense there? No, it wouldn't, right? That is why the government now will have to take protectionism measures to make sure that they don't continuously be in a balance of payment deficit or in debt, meaning importing more than they are exporting. Let me know if you all need me to re-explain it in a particular way. Yeah?
Yeah, miss, you could just re-explain it for me
All
one
right,
time, please.
no problem. Balance of payments. Whenever you hear balance of payments, I want you to think import and export. And whenever you hear import and export, think import meaning coming in, right? Goods coming in. And whenever you think export, goods going out, your X, you going out. X, right? So export is always a good thing though, because when you're exporting now, you're sending them out, you're getting money back in return, right? But when you're bringing them in, and you're importing, you have to be spending the money. So which one you think you would want to have a higher stake in, your export or your import?
Yeah, export.
Your export. In
Yeah,
this case, it's the export, right? Right. So your export. So what we always try to have going is a balance. But let's be real. In real man terms, you don't always get a balance. You will always get a unevenness. So that is where a deficit coming in now. And deficit, we know from the sound of the word, it means something bad, right?
Yeah.
So the deficit in this case, when they're talking a balance of payment, it means now you're importing too much coming in and not much going out. Meaning you're spending more money to bring in goods, but you're selling less. So you're making less money. It's like if you have a store or you sell it in the market and you only buy and produce, man, you just buy and bring, right? And you're spending all your money and buying it, but nothing selling. You're not selling the same amount or even a close amount to make back the money you spent. Yeah? That is what a balance of payment deficit means. You're okay so far?
Yeah, miss, I
Marina?
got this.
Yeah, miss. Yeah, thanks.
Right, no problem. Now, the purpose of the protectionism measure for the government is to correct that imbalance. So you don't want it to be uneven again. You want it to come back to a balance. You want the scales to even off. Yeah? Okay. I didn't lose anybody yet, right?
No, I hear.
No.
All right, good. Perfect. Right, and the next one now is to promote self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency means you can provide for yourself. Think of you being able to provide for your household. That means the government would want to make sure they can provide for their own people. Hence the reason a lot of persons are stressing on the need to diversify. Diversify meaning not depend on one export commodity, right? And expand our horizons. And a lot of that could be in terms of developing our agricultural produce. Our agricultural sector, sorry. Right? We okay so far with arguments for why the government would want to engage in protectionist measures?
Yeah,
Yeah,
miss.
miss.
All right. Now you're sure, right?
Yeah.
Right. So now let's look at measures they could use to control the imports or to restrict trade. Controlling the imports meaning making sure you're only importing a certain amount and you're not over importing, right? Or in other words, you're restricting trade with in terms of certain goods and in terms of certain countries, right? So the first one is something called a tariff. Now you see these things here and these terms, they are popular in the multiple choice questions. Huh? So you want to make sure you know what these terms mean and what they are used for. So if I were you, I would take down a note on this.
Screenshot.
Right? Where we're talking about measures to control the imports or to restrict the trade, both meaning the same thing. First one is a tariff. And a tariff is a tax imposed on goods coming into the country, right? That means you're putting a tax based on a particular good. Quotas now. A quota is a restriction on the amount of goods that can be imported. So like sometimes, when you're buying from a wholesaler, you have to buy a certain amount or you can't benefit from wholesale prices.
Okay.
something like that, right? You can only import a certain amount. You can't go beyond that. An embargo is a total ban on certain imported goods. That means you completely cannot bring that in. I want you to make sure you cannot. I want you to make sure the difference between a tariff and an embargo, especially. Right? Tariff and embargo. A tariff is a tax that you impose on goods coming into the country, and then an embargo is a complete ban on certain imported goods. That means you really can't bring it in at all. Right? Right. Exchange controls. This is a restriction on the amount of currency leaving the country. So you can't leave the country with beyond a certain amount of money. Right? Yeah, everybody okay?
Is that come like when you
Yes.
go to Ghana, you have to pawn all your gold because you can't hide that. You can come back with it in your bag or in your pocket.
Yeah, basically. Right? And like, you know, when you're flying and they ask you to declare?
Yeah.
Clear the amount of money you have and all of these things. Right. And devaluation is a reduction in the value of a country's currency. This is important for you to know as well. That means the actual value of the dollar has gone down. Right? We okay so far?
Yeah.
MS.
Yeah.
All right, good. I hope you make a note to particularly learn these terms, right?
Yeah, making a note as we speak.
All right, good.
My screenshot the thing that I write it, but
No, write it down now. Because if you screenshot it, you'll forget.
nah, it's in my phone. I don't put a mark on it. It's up in the crowd.
Tariffs and quotas. These cause people to turn to the domestic market. Domestic means what?
Country.
Right, very good. Your country market to satisfy their demands. So the purpose of a tariff and a quota is to make sure people buy local as opposed to continuously buy foreign. You know, they always have this saying, support local.
Yeah.
Right, this is what the tariffs and the quotas encourage people to do. They have no choice now but to buy local produce. And that is why sometimes you will find these foreign or these imported goods are a lot more expensive. It's because they have to pay a lot more taxes in terms of clearing them. Yeah, compared to the local products, right? And you know, most of the times price is a determining factor for demand, right? Right. This creates more jobs and the infant industries are protected. Because remember, that is one of the reasons the government would always want to protect the small firms. Because these small firms help to create employment, right? And these small firms are the ones that now creating competition to an extent for the larger ones. And by imposing these tariffs and quotas on the large companies in terms of restricting their imports is one method the government can use now to protect these infant industries. Yeah? You all okay so far?
Yeah,
Yes.
All right, good. An embargo, and remember we said an embargo is a total ban on a product which is placed on the negative list and cannot be imported. So it's like a blacklist then. You know how some long ago you had people in a blacklist and they can't travel to other places? Yeah? Right, it's like that. An embargo is like a blacklist. This simply means, right, that those products cannot be imported. Yeah? Everybody okay?
MS.
Right.
Yeah.
The level of imports on this product is now 0, and infant industries will be completely protected. So that means they get no competition from those products being imported because they can't be imported. Right? Right. So tell me how we're feeling now before we jump into the other part of the handout. We okay?
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Are feeling overwhelmed or we can continue?
Continue.
All right. We're looking at documents used in the international or foreign trade. This is also important. I think when we look at some of the multiple choice questions, you would have realized, you would have seen some of these coming up and they were popping up. So you want to make sure you can tell the difference among these important documents here, right? Yeah, because these are sure to come for your multiple choice at least. So let's look at the first one, which is your indent, which is a foreign order prepared by the importer. The importer is the person who wants to bring in the product, right? And it's sent to the exporter. So like, let's just say, for example, I'm in Trinidad and I want to bring a car from Japan. I am the importer and the Japanese company is the exporter, right? So now I will send them an indent, right? But now there are two types of indent we have to look at. One is the open indent and the other one is a closed indent, right? The open indent is forwarded to the exporter, right? And is left with all options regarding the choice of the goods and transportation, the insurance and whatever not. But a closed indent is where the exporter gets clear out instructions as to the quality of the goods and the method of transportation. So let's just put this into a real scenario here now. I want to import 2 vehicles from Japan, right? So now I am the importer. Sorry. And who is the exporter?
Japan.
Me.
Right. Japan is the exporter. Now I decided.
Miss, why you make
Because you're making noise.
I answered though. I was answering. I said Japan.
But I was hearing ruffling just now and it was a bit distracting.
Okay.
Right. So let's go back to the example. I don't know why. Sorry, if you feel offended.
No. I was just
Okay.
I was just wondering.
Okay. Okay. Right. So we're going back to the example now, right? I am the importer and I want to go to Japan and I want to bring 2 vehicles. So the Japanese firm is called the exporter, right? And now I have to send them an indent. It can either be open, where I let them choose whatever kind of vehicles to send for me, or I could be real picky and be real closed, send a closed indent and tell them, well, here, what now? I want a Honda Vezel. I want it to be in red. I want it to have alloy rims and I want it to have leather seating and I want to be very specific with my options, right? That is what you call a closed indent, right? And I would tell them, well, here what? I want it on the ship and I want this X, Y, and Z insurance on it. And I would like it to be procured within this time period and, shipped by whatever. Yeah? Basically, that is
You know what I'm thinking?
What's that?
I think like a meal, sometimes you go to a restaurant and you tell somebody, what you choose for me.
Yeah.
Whereas another person might be like, I want this amount, this type of food.
Yeah.
Or
like especially if you're ordering steak and they tell you how they want it.
Yeah, how you want it.
Yeah.
That's still going through all that, right? All I say, a closing then is just like a woman. They nitpicky. Everything is, they have to get everything set in order. They have to do it in a way, right?
Not necessarily. That's quite sexist, but not all women are like that. I have some
women. That's true. Not all women are like that.
Right. Yeah, all right. So, but based on the examples, you are able to understand what the difference is, right?
Yeah.
You're sure?
Positive.
Right. Good. And you just put it into the whole exporting, importing analogy. The second one is a Pro-Forma Invoice. This accompanies goods being sent overseas, so that if there are customs duties to be paid, the amount will be calculated and shown on the invoice itself, right? It can also be sent as a request for payment in advance, or where goods are sent on approval. For example, if a customer wants to keep the goods. So basically, you can either send it with the goods or you can send it before. So you'll have an idea of what the costs are. The purpose of it is to see the customs duties to be paid. And most of the times when you're buying overseas, you have to have a broker, and the broker is the one who usually handles all of these, right? All right, so we're looking now at an import-export license. This license gives the importer or exporter permission to engage in foreign trade. Anytime you need to buy something from overseas, you'll have to get a trade license. Car dealers need to get a trade license, right? Anybody who imports, even if you import fruits on a large scale or you have a large shipping company, you'll need to have an import license. And even if you're exporting it, so like we talk about SMG Lille and we talk about Abel and all of these large manufacturing companies, they also export their goods, right? So they would need an export license. Ministry of Trade in Trinidad is the one who is responsible for that, right? So you'll have to apply for it. Yeah? Everybody okay so far?
Yeah, miss.
Yeah.
All right, good. Right. A certificate of origin. This, well, origin is where it comes from, right? So this is a certificate of declaration issued by the exporter in the country of origin of the goods he is shipping. It is required to determine any preferential tariff rates which might apply. So like, for example, let's go back to the same car example. You will have on that certificate of origin where the car came from. Like, let's just say, even if it's in Japan, they will tell you which province, in Japan it came from, and remember, it's foreign use. So it would make it look now, like, for example, they would tell the first where the first owner is and all of this stuff, right? And when they do that now, all of that information comes with it. So like, for example, this allows for the tracing of the vehicle, because you know sometimes in Trinidad there are a lot of scams where vehicles are stolen and then they're brought down here. What this certificate of origin does is that it casts out any doubt of it being stolen or being involved in any kind of illegal activity. And you need the certificate in order to clear the car one and also to have a license, right? So this certificate of origin is very important. Yeah? Everybody okay?
Yeah,
miss.
man.
Yeah, miss.
Okay, good. Thank you. Right. Let's move on. The shipping notes. This note is submitted to the port authority who receives the goods. This is for the customs officer, right? And it gives a description of the type, the quality, and the quantity and destination of the goods. This is quite important. And most of the times it's only if you're doing sea freight, right? And again, it's only for the customs officer. Not only sea freight though, but most of the times, because most of the times the goods will come down to the port over there. Most of the times if they're coming down from air freight, it will come to the airport, right? Bill of lading. This is important because I've seen it pop up a lot of times. This is an important document in sending goods by ship, right? Since it is a contract of carriage and a document of title. This is extremely important. This piece of information is extremely important, especially if it is you are shipping large quantities of goods, right? Because now that holds the title, that gives the person whose name is on the document total control over the product as actual owner of it, right? So it is made out by the exporter, that means the person in Japan, right? Or his shipping agent at the port at which the goods are taken on board, and covers the following information. So basically, when the car goes on the boat, the person in Japan is going to fill out this information now, and it's going to be shipped with the vehicle and brought back to, let's just say, Trinidad, right? And this is what you will use to help clear the cars, right? The type, the quantity, the weight, and the value. You must state the value in monetary terms, right? Any special markings on the boxes or on the vehicles or whatever to make sure no damage was taken on board ship in terms of transport, right? The port of destination, that means where it's actually going to come. In Trinidad, it could be probably Point Listas, it could be Port of Spain, it could be Piarco, right? Not PIACO, sorry, because this is for shipping, right? The name of the ship, the route of the trip, and the sender's name and address. All of this information is very, very important. Always remember, a bill of lading is only for shipping in terms of sea freight, right? And it's a document of title. That's what we have it bolded here. It's a document of title that gives ownership to the person whose name is on it, right? And we're looking now at an airway bill. But that name by itself kind of gives it off. It means it comes through the air, not so?
Yeah.
So this is a standard document used to accompany all the air freight shipments. It is also known as an air consignment note. Now, multiple choice can be tricky. They want to make sure if terms have other names, you remember the other names as well. Because next thing you know, they end up using air consignment note as opposed to airway bill, and you get confused just by the way. So just know what is also known as, right? The sender or his agent fills it in before handing the goods to the airline. So that's basically the formalities that they complete before shipping the goods and packing them on the aircraft. One important difference between an airway bill and a bill of lading, you would want to make sure you pay attention to this, is that an airway bill is not a document of title. Important there. It is not a document of title. That is one of the main differences between an airway bill and a bill of lading, right? It is not a document of title. This means that a shipping company will not hand over the goods except to the possessor of a signed bill of lading. But the airline will simply hand over the goods to the consignee's name on the airway bill. Let's just take, for example, we're bringing down the car via ship and we have a bill of lading. They mean that the person whose name is on it will have to be present at the port, right? Or they can transfer the responsibility to their broker. But in terms of an airway bill, and most of the times we order stuff online, right? And it comes via air freight. But do we have to be personally there, or does the shipping company handle that first?
Shipping company.
Exactly, the shipping company handles that. So that is the main difference there. They can collect it and disperse it. But in terms of a bill of lading, that can't happen. Right? That can't happen. Because the bill of lading now is a legal document giving the actual ownership to that person whose name is on it. Yeah?
Miss, and for like the packages and
right.
the airway bill will be more efficient than the normal one if it's coming from cars.
Is it all over?
Because with vehicles is a total different.
It's a total different scenario because of one is value, and remember the size of the package. Remember, airway bills are for like smaller packages, as opposed for like a big thing like a car. Yeah.
I misunderstand.
Okay. Did that answer your question? No?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. All right. So let's look at insurance certificate. All marine cargo must be insured, and this provides coverage against disasters and loss of goods. So like, for example, let's go back to the same shipping of a car. You need to have insurance. If a person is shipping a vehicle from, let's just say, Japan to Trinidad, you need to have insurance on that vehicle. So you have to pay additional for that. It's an additional to the cost of just the car alone. Remember, you also have to pay shipping and handling and everything else, right? Because of the risk associated with that form of transport, the insurance is a must, right? So you must have that insurance certificate to provide that. That's why they say for all marine cargo, meaning all products coming through ships or the sea freight, right? Right. Let's look at the bill of exchange. This is an unconditional order in writing addressed by one person to another, signed by the person giving it, requiring the person to whom it is addressed to pay on demand. or at a fixed or determinable future time. A sum of money, a certain sum of money, right? In order to get what they have to get, basically, right? It can be used for credit or for a fixed time by a person who owes money. Basically, that's the purpose of it. You don't usually get this. It does not pop up as much in your exams, but I'm not saying you're not supposed to know it, but it's good to just know what it is and the reason you use it. But
these are more multiple choice questions, miss?
yeah, these are more multiple choice questions.
Okay.
So you see this whole section we did here in terms of the documents, right? All of those are multiple choice related questions. That's why I was telling you, you need to make sure you know the definitions of what they are.
Okay.
Right? And that's why I try to use easy examples so you all could relate to them and it'll be easier to remember as opposed to all of these words in this paragraph form.
Okay.
Do you think you all were able to understand it now with the analogies and the examples?
Yeah, I have a fair understanding, yeah.
Okay, good. Everybody else all right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, miss.
We're looking at the methods of payment in international trade. So, you know, if we have to buy something online, we would just either use, let's just say, online banking from our normal debit account, or we would use, you would use your credit card. And then there's something called cash vouchers. Now, there's payment platforms called WePay and Paywise. And they allow you for you to use prepaid cards or even cash vouchers to make online payments, right? Now, international trade, even though you could use those methods for domestic trade, for international trade, is a totally different ballgame, right? The type of payment method is a lot stricter and a bit more complicated. In the sense that, because remember now, you're not paying in normal TT dollars. Your payment has to be in US or it could be in yen if you're going with the car route, right? And remember, you must have a business account, one with the bank, that makes it easier. And then in terms of getting foreign exchange, your name will be placed on a waiting list. Because remember, they can't give everybody a whole set amount. So you have to have an invoice, a Pro-Forma Invoice, right? You must have your supporting documents. You must also have the amount of money in your bank account, right? But you will still be placed on a waiting list for that foreign exchange. And believe it or not, even though the yen does not have much value, right? In terms of monetary value, in terms of because it is devalued, the devalued form of payment. It's a lot harder to get yen, you know, from the bank. There's a really long waiting line to get that. But especially so, I know for certain banks. I'm not sure for all, right? But always remember that your payment methods compared to local spending or local buying is a lot easier and less complicated than it is for international trade, right? The first thing you need is a bank draft. One of the options there is a bank draft. The second one now is a letter of credit. This ensures both a buyer and seller of credit with a bank in the seller's country. The bank then pays the seller only when he produces the shipping document. So you have to have proof that you already, you know, this is the product and this is the case here, right? And a lot of times too, they're going to ask you for wire transfer. Wire transfer is another way that you can make payments via to international companies then, right? Right, the third one is having an open account system where you sell goods on credit and a buyer pays later by a bank draft. That is a kind of a risky one. It's very risky, and because you're not sure that the person will actually pay, right? I know a lot in terms of, let's just say, large shipments, like for example, the same cars, like D&D Auto. What they do is that they buy their vehicles, it is alleged, on consignment, right? That means they take the vehicles, not just them, but other companies, they take the vehicles, as far as I can see, they have a large amount of vehicles, and they sell them out. And as they sell them out now, they use that money and then they repay the exporter, the person who they got the vehicles from.
Okay.
So you're not
But
paying for the
legit?
goods one time, huh?
They're
That's
legit?
different.
I heard about them, but I don't know if
No.
they're
Well, you
legit.
see, that's why they always tell you to read the fine print.
Right.
In any document that you sign,
Mm-hmm.
wherever you are, always
Yeah.
remember to read the fine print. They always tell you all to do that. Right. So are we all okay so far with this handout?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any questions? Any questions, confusions, anything you want to take away from the handout?
Oh no.
Everybody okay? You sure?
Yeah, I find this is the only paper I find it's a kind of heavy paper.
It is. It is heavy in terms of the amount of information they have in it. Yeah, it's heavy.
Yeah.
The good thing about this is that I think most of us familiar with most of the terms like the airway bills and
Yeah.
all these terms.
Well,
It's just
yeah.
yeah. So that's but it is a little bit heavier.
Yeah, it is heavy. That's why I want you.
I am familiar with some of the terms due to OA, like the bill of
Yeah.
lading and all of that.
Yeah.
We do that. So.
They will overlap. You see,
Yeah.
topics like OA and POA and POB, some of the terms they
Yeah.
overlap. Even social studies, right?
Yeah.
They will overlap. So you can like knock out two birds with one stone, if you want to call it like that, when you study it, because you can use the information interchangeably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was doing a social studies class with some students yesterday, and it was like a POB paper. Right?
Yeah.
Right. So we okay so far? Any questions, let me know. If you all want me to go for any part of it or anything like that, let me know. Right? But what I want you to do though, for homework, I want you to review the handout, like in your own timing and in your own space. Right? Go it over line by line, jot down any questions you might have. And any questions that you might have, make sure and let me know. The next day we have class. So we'll have class on Sunday, God willing, right? Usual time, 10 to 1. And we will continue. So bring your questions on that day and we will discuss it, and then we will move on to the other handout depending on how things go. I will email it to you tonight after this. Right?
The trade and
Around that
protectionism
time.
handout.
What's that? Say it over again next.
This handout you're emailing us?
Yes.
Okay, because I think you sent it already, yeah?
I did, because that's what Simone was saying.
Yeah, you did, because I checked my email and it was there.
All right, good. So we're about to send this again. But everybody got it, right?
Miss, this was sent today?
No,
this
it was
was
sent
sent on the 9th.
last week on April 9th.
Yeah, on the 9th of April.
Okay, I'll check it over. I just hardly check the email, so I'll check it over.
Well, and refresh it and check it junk folder just in case. But if you did not get it, let me know now.
Yeah, I will, yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. Have a good night. I'll see you all on Sunday, God willing.
Okay, miss. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.